might be something I need to refer back to. So that should be recording now. So, all right, Mike, I'll let you take it away.
Okay. Okay, so we're doing network maps and dashboarding. Okay, I did create. I only created a couple. I just did them, knocked them up yesterday, just very quickly. This one's an example. I will go into maps, which is under the home network, a home summary, I should say. And
how are
mapping,
these built, Mike?
Directly in this console. They used to have a separate application for it, and in recent times, in the last 18 months or 2 years, maybe, they've introduced this new mapping system.
I guess my question is more about it's automated to a certain extent in terms of in terms of relationships.
It won't. Yeah, relationships is okay. Well, so if you drag nodes onto the page and you save them as a map, if you add a new node, it's not going to find the new node. You have to manually go and add it.
Yeah.
But it is interactive, fully interactive. So it will show you the speed of links. It'll show you whether the node's up or down or warning or all those things.
Yeah.
So you can see I've only created 2. It's a bit of a last minute thing. Wireless LAN controller. This is one of the sites that I had a look at the APs, okay, which we added via ICMP. You can see the IP addresses there, right? So you can see there's a couple of other nodes that were part of that I've dragged onto the page. A couple of Cisco's. It's showing the connectivity. The PABX. Showing the connectivity to the switch, I think, is it? Is it a switch?
Core switch.
Yeah. So it's showing, and this link here is automatically generated. It's able to show the relationship between the two and what it considers to be the link speed.
Yeah, I think that'd be that. Just to pick up on that one, I think that NRT, the one on the right, NRT 001, would be upstream from the switch, if that makes sense, not downstream.
Yeah, not downstream.
So yeah, because to go that's the HWAN router to the core switch, which is the NSD 010 PABX.
Yes.
And then the wireless LAN controller is right, it's connected to the switch, but just the router needs to be on the other side.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. This is the wireless LAN controller. So I've just shown a couple of hardware items that it's able to, it's monitoring already, right? So it's you can have these on a page as well, just sort of, it's just really a bit of a sampler, right? Just to say, well, you can do this sort of stuff,
Do they turn red or equivalent if something's wrong? Yeah.
All interactive, and you can actually you can click through them as well. So if we
I guess my vision would be, say, for a site-based infrastructure map would be would probably be everything. I mean, we can go beyond just. I mean, we talked about a duress specific one, but and Imad thoughts appreciated. But I think if we're capturing any sort of IT hardware, UPSs, any switches at the facility, access points. A server running a phone system or running a virtual, so a physical server running a virtual number of virtual servers, they could all be part of that site-based map. I don't think we need a duress map specifically, but I think a site specific. And I guess on that, how do we navigate to it? Is it just through that maps option, or is it applicable through that top level map?
So you can see this. I've just dropped this on a page, right? This map here. Right, so you can drop it wherever you like. I would normally, if I create a number of them, I would create another. This is part of dashboarding, so I guess I'll show you this. So I would normally create another page. Right, so I would delete that column. I'd like me to do that, obviously. Customize a page, add a tab. I'm going to call this, delete this after. So this is a dashboard. There's two types of dashboard. There's the standard one, which is and there's also what they call a modern dashboard, which has been modernized and looks a little bit different.
Mhm.
I don't like that. Oh, yeah, okay. It's a different name. I see a little devil. So custom tab 2, I'm going to add links. Diagnostics. Windows icon. Not a unique title. Thought it was. Funky going on there. Liking my summary page.
Just use a single word, Mike.
Yeah, I'm just.
Looks like doesn't like the spaces.
I don't think so. Yeah, just
Keep it as custom tab 2 and to see what happens. That's interesting.
weird. All right, let me see if I can outsmart it. Probably not. Okay. So there's a widget called Orion Maps. Orion Map, I should say. So you don't have to add it through here. You can add it, drag it onto a page. It's just it likes to have a. So they start to appear down here. You can have lots of them. Okay. So what we would normally do is you can choose a map. In this case, let's say it's that files lane controller one. I'm going to expand it out a little bit. I'm going to say 750 is the height. So we start to see a bigger map. So you can have a page of maps. Traditionally, what I would normally do is I'd have 2 or 3 or 4 pages, and we'd have maybe site maps on one page and branch maps on another, and so on and so forth. But these are all clickable, even on the main page, right? So you can, if you want to, that device turns red, you can actually click through it. And it'll load up in the new page, or you can tell it to load up in the same page if you want to. Okay. You can hover over these guys and you'll get the summary. The wireless APs, when we added them, we'll talk about that as well. So we added them with ICMP, and you can see that's what you get if you click on one of these guys. You'll get some basic information up, down, and you'll notice there it's a machine type is unknown. Okay, because it's ICMP, so it can't really extract much information. However, what we can do, if we look back here, you'll see this one here is one I've altered, right? So you're able to go in. I was able to change the vendor to Cisco, so it recognises a Cisco device. I changed the machine type to Cisco AP, just so you can, just so it's got some additional information, and you can see it looks a bit different. Although when we click through it, you're not really going to get any additional information. However, you are able to at least see the name and these details. The difference that makes, just so we're all aware, is let me just go to this map viewer and go back to NPM. The difference it makes is you can use that name. It's a bit easier to report on. It's a bit easier to identify the device. Obviously, these are just, you're showing as unknown. You don't know the name of it. Whether that matters or not, is probably, I guess that's really dependent on you guys. I just wanted you to show what was available.
Can that be updated in bulk?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, there is a sort of a bit of a manual element to it, but we can script it up. So if you look over here on the left, though, all nodes managed, you see we've got Cisco Wireless AP, right? And that's because that's that device.
Yeah.
Right. And that's because I altered it. If you look at the other ones, I did add them, so they come up like this as unknown. So it's a bit more random. Like, I'm sure if we look at it and you go, oh, it's 140.164, I know where that is. But obviously, it's not quite as.
So did you updated that host name as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
And the Cisco IP.
Yeah, that's right. So I went into the database and you don't have to do the database, you can script it, but went to the database, added those details with a query.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, it's just a matter of editing the node itself and just basically typing it in.
Okay.
But the difference it makes is, and when you edit it in a report or something, it's going to come up as this name, right, with the IP address. So it makes a difference in reporting, makes a difference when you do it, makes a difference on the map. I'll show you how that works on the map just so you can understand. If we go back to maps, go back to this guy. So if we go in here and we edit. So when you want to add a node, it's really, you can add them by nodes, you can look at the groups and applications in some cases, right? Queries, there's, virtual hosts, so you can filter or sort by some of those. Basically, you can just, type in the name of a device. If that's what you so wish to do, we could add.
So what about adding a server, a Lockhart server?
Yeah, so right, so it's one of those. This looks like a server. It's got a little server box next to it. So literally for these guys, it's just a matter of dragging it on the page. Right.
Is that a UPS? That's a UPS. Yep.
But UPS is. Which one is this?
The top one that's not
Top
grayed
one.
out.
That's a file
block
server.
UPS.
Yeah.
Go down, Mike.
MOX.
Yeah, Moxa. Yep.
The Moxa. Yep.
Yeah.
But that's
There's
part of the
the
address
UPS.
system.
There's a UPS that's fourth one from the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
What's the current server email? Is that there? Is it the top one or the bottom one?
It's the top one should be, but I think that they haven't renamed it. There's a problem with the naming with it. So I think Arthur, they just put the new server there. So.
Yeah.
So it's really relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
This Lockhart LAN is a group that I created, and I added these guys to that group. Just wanted to be able to show it. So I would have obviously added the UPS as well. So for whatever reason, what you can do is they're not showing a relationship at the moment. So that means one of two things: that either we're not monitoring the interface and it can't show it, right? You can manually connect a topology on devices. So it's not showing it because we're not monitoring the interface on that device. We're not able to monitor it for whatever reason. Right. So obviously that one's got a MOX or Ethernet, so that's okay. So you can actually create your own topology if it's available. This one we just have to go in and monitor. If it's got a interface, we'd have to go in and monitor it. Right. So it's as easy as doing that. Obviously, you're going to arrange things around. You can we can go in and make them look nice by making them bold, draw boxes, do all the usual kind of stuff, as you can see here. One of the things you can do if we go to that MOX, if you click on the three little dots, we can actually show related entities that it knows about. So it knows about the Ethernet address, and that's probably pretty much it for that device. Oh, that's a sys one, was it? That's a sys. Sys is down here. Show related entities. So we can see that device You can see obviously CPU, power supply, temperature, DIMMs, the whole shooting match, right? So what you would normally do is we'd, potentially pick and choose which ones we want to see that are associated with that device, right? So you can start to show, some relationships which are useful for, obviously, for maps, right?
Mhm.
So normally, I'd depending on what I was doing, I'd go and modify these. Might have C drive, might have D drive, might have memory, CPU, whatever it is we want to.
Yeah,
We want to look
I
at.
don't know if we'd have too many specific details. It'd be probably more about clicking in and seeing what the issue was.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Mm.
I think that was the same with the WLAN, right? Your APs, you didn't want them all shown because this is one of the smaller sites. With the bigger sites, you've got like 130 plus APs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You'd probably just want the group, and then when you click on, say, Lockhart while APs as a group, if it's red, at least one of the APs is down. You're going to get an
Yeah.
alert anyway as well. You click
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that, and then you see that group, and you
Yeah.
click on the device. But then you're not going to troubleshoot it in there. You're going to go to the
Mm.
LAN controller,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then sort it out. Or
Yeah.
again, the same thing with the Meraki's. You
Yeah.
can need a little bit more information inside
Yeah.
SolarWinds,
I mean-
but essentially you're going to go to the SolarWinds. You're going to go to the Meraki portal anyway.
Yeah,
So the
I
beige,
mean-
the beige box would be an example of wireless infrastructure, which could be the wireless LAN controller plus all the APs, and then we could have
Yep.
another box that is Duos system, which is the
Yeah.
virtual servers, the Arista and the MIE, this message integration, the Moxa, what's the other one?
Wago.
Wago, which is a Ethernet to relay, isn't it?
Yeah, relay Ethernet.
Yeah. So we've got a number of different
Mm.
pieces of kit that would sit in specific boxes, I would think, and then we would have common infrastructure like UPSs, switches, router, site
Exactly.
router. Yeah.
Exactly right. So it's really up to you. The other way to monitor nodes is like this is an application monitoring
Mhm.
widget I create. It's actually a map, right? So what I did was I've got 3 groups: Quick Connect, Site Duos, and EchoHal. They're already being monitored over here.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is a reflection of those guys in a slightly different way to consume it. Okay.
Yeah.
So by looking at this, we can see core applications. We also use often put up for clients core shared services, so maybe like DHCP, DNS, Active Directory, Windows
Mhm.
services, depending on what we're monitoring. So this is a nice, easy way to say, well, Quick Connect is good, it's green. The box is interactive, it will change, right? Maybe calls, it's a group, so it's showing us. Well, some of them are green, but there is a few that some
Yeah.
are down.
I like that.
Yeah. So we get a nice, oh, okay. So that's okay, but there are some issues there. So it's a nice, easy way for people to get a really quick feel for what's going on in the network, right? So the more you monitor, I guess the easier that is to do. And the more you get out of it, it's just, again, it's rather than pulling down, going and looking inside there, I've got to look around. You don't have to look around, right? You just click on it and it's going to give you some information straight away. And you can pretty much, just click through here as well and go straight to that device if you want to see what's actually going on with it, right?
Yeah.
So it's unable to connect with the access for some reason. So that's obviously we've addressed that if that was an issue. So mapping is really useful, not just for your traditional network map. Obviously, doing it this way, using these kind of maps is a slightly different way to approach it, but very effective. Well, I feel they're very effective anyway. So if we go back to the NPM summary, so this was a sample one. Again, just to sort of show like a site one. I usually do I usually set up a SolarWinds one. So what I do with a SolarWinds one, and I'll demonstrate that in a moment, is I add the SolarWinds server. I add some of the services that we're monitoring, some of the Windows services that we're potentially monitoring. Then I'll add the SQL box that it's connecting to. So that's like I call that, this is a branch site map. That one is more an end-to-end application or an end-to-end service map, right? So it shows you your all the things your application, in this case we're talking about Orion, but all the things your application is dependent on, right? So it could be you've got a firewall, you've got some core switches, you've got router or whatever it is. If that's the case, you've got an application server, you might have an IIS server, you might have a couple of those. So by monitoring the appropriate objects, we can then put them in a map, and that map can sit on its own page or on a front page like this, a summary page, or on a dashboard like we saw earlier. And people can then go to that to get an idea of, if someone's complained there's an issue with, Orion, if I use that example again, there's an issue with Orion, it's really slow, what's going on? So someone can go to the map and go, well, I've had a look at the map, it looks, oh yeah, I can see the database is red over there, so there must be a bit of a database issue. Right? Or the IIS server's down, that's why it's not responding. Right. So they can do all that just from a map. So that's the idea, that you, I guess, think of which application, how you'd like to consume the data that SolarWinds is already monitoring. Right. So network map is a really good way to do that. Again, just look at the applications. So it's really this consumption of maps, again, it's really useful. I usually like to put them on the summary page and then have, a couple of separate pages, maybe for people who want to dive straight into a separate map. Normally, depending on what we're doing, so you can see I'm monitoring Windows services on the SolarWinds boxes. Okay, I added these in so I could show you. So these are a good way to see what your Windows is, status is. Okay, you can do this for Linux as well. So you can see the processor time's a bit of an issue over here. It does spike a bit. So really, if that's all green, there's a fair chance that your Windows is running fine. Okay, and that's available for 2016 and all the previous iterations of Windows. You've obviously got your duress systems. I think you're looking at a DNS server in here, similar sort of thing. So what you can do with these is this map here, the duress system status. You can have like an infrastructure system status, and you have one for DNS, one for Active Directory, one for Windows servers if you're monitoring core servers, one for SQL.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Comes up as red or amber. And then
because
click in and investigate.
It saves you clicking around in here. Right, you sort of got to go, oh, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, what's that mean? Whereas if
we need to get to the point where we're seeing something that's red, we just need to go and look at what's going on with it and turn it back to green.
Yeah, that's right. So, and you can have as I said, what I sometimes do is have a page like this, and we'll put all of those. You might have a few rows of them, right? So you'll be able to look at this page with no interruptions and have, actually looking at 20 or 30 different types of systems, right, just on the one page, right? So that seems to be very popular. And again, for me, it's all about consumption. That's a way to consume the things you're already monitoring in SolarWinds, right? So, and you can make these look as, nice and as detailed as you want, right? So, and you can make them look quite nice. We can overlay them onto a Visio diagram. You can overlay them onto a map, obviously. You've already got that in your one of your summary pages. So we could put some people put rack diagrams. They give me a Visio, they're rack diagrams, and then we actually overlay the nodes into the rack diagram, right? So, and you can have as much information as one. If you fill in the custom properties, you can start to have like rack numbers, rack names, locations, vendor contact information, whatever it is that you want. Same goes for in here for Meraki and stuff, right? So we can start to populate some of the custom properties for these if you wanted to pull them out into diagrams or reports. I'll quickly talk about jump into, I guess, dashboard. So as I explained, you've already seen the other type of dashboard you can create very easily yourself, although this one wasn't particularly easy just before.
Sorry, Mike, just before you move on, is there an appetite for you guys to have a geographic map on like your main summary page, so that like so Lockhart there's a building for Lockhart on a geographical map, and then you'll know if it's red, green, amber.
We have that.
That
now
would be ideal.
Oh, you do have that?
Yeah. Oh, Scott. Yeah, we do have that now, which is on that home page. The one that Mike couldn't see.
That's why I didn't go to it. That's trying to avoid it. I think it's still blank, so I'm not going to see it here now.
Yeah, so I think Emmett sent a screenshot through. So
yeah, he did,
we have that now. I'm not sure how that's created or generated, but we would look to keep that.
Yeah,
I guess
it's just here at the SolarWinds somewhere, isn't it? I thought that map was available here in SolarWinds.
Yeah, it's on the homepage, but
yeah.
Mike is sharing couldn't get access to it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I come in a bit late.
Possibly his rights, maybe.
Yeah.
Good, Scott.
I think
it's a map. Yeah. It's a MapQuest like widget that connects up to MapQuest as like a third party. So it's not connecting to a map that's been drawn in SolarWinds. Basically, you put in latitude, longitude, and it'll show you a map of that latitude, longitude. You can just zoom in or out depending on what your needs are.
So at the moment when we click into that map, I think it goes. What does it do? Does it go to the?
Good question. Let me just open it actually.
Because I guess the question is, do we want it to click in?
It's nice, even if it's just an indication of what's green and what's red, from a visual perspective.
Especially, do we want to click into? I mean, we've got some locations. We've got multiple sites. Like we might have a hospital plus a community health centre, which is a separate building. But do we want it to click into the map, for example?
Yeah.
I think once you start zooming into it, it starts sort of displaying more individual stacks.
So what it does
in that area.
basically.
Do you want to share your screen a bit?
Yeah, sure.
We'll just click in. Track down some red ones.
Yeah.
So I certainly do a number of those for clients. Yeah.
So this is what the map looks like. And if you, let's say, hypothetically click, this is Braidwood. I know that because I checked it early this morning. Click on that, it will take you to the Braidwood core switch.
Also, it takes you to the one that's red.
Yes, correct. Okay. And then if you want to go back to, let's say, I will pick up. This is Coleambly. That's a good time, but yeah, this is Aubrey. Just want to have a single site. That's Korwa. Okay, so it's Korwa.
Yeah.
MDS. You've got three nodes there. Yeah, and that's the hospital. And
so
this
if you click
is
on
the
the 3 nodes, so the MPS.
Basically, there's a problem with the Korwa. Remember that we've got a switch down there, Ben, that edge care one. Yeah. Basically, it will give you the map, give you tell what
zoom in a bit more.
Yeah, and you could zoom in, but it won't do. The map is actually sort of a vector underneath it, but the active elements these are the 3 balloons. These are the active, nothing on the map. You cannot edit the map or do anything, but
so
if you click on any of those, the orange one, it will take you to the UPSs down, okay? You go to the Korwa, it will actually tells you.
Is that why the switch is down, is it?
Yeah, it's not. This is the HD. Sorry, this is Kaura, not Korwa.
There's nothing down there.
It's Korwa.
There's nothing down, is there? Otherwise it'd be red.
No, we definitely have the switch down there, and I will tell you, unless
I thought the orange was just. I thought the orange just sort of depicted the fact that that's the one that you've selected.
Yeah, I know, but literally Korwa, we've got the aged care switches down. Definitely, that's 100%. Just because we was talking with the asset management for that. Okay, but it's actually not. How do I put it? Not showing it in here for some reason. I'm not sure why, but anyway.
What node is it in there that you're saying is down?
So the node is .13, which is the aged care one. That one.
So is it not in this list?
Yeah, is it not in
Yeah.
SolarWinds though? Is that what you're saying?
It should be. Let me
It
just.
should
Yes,
be-
yeah,
it should be
Chad's
red
care one,
there.
yeah, it is on.
Well,
I'm
mustn't
seeing it
be.
red.
Yeah. I was going to say, if it's in there, you'll see it red.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's not on that map though, right?
it's not on the map.
Ah.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe the coordinates have not been added to it.
Yeah.
So I'll
Mm.
just see what's whoever done it. This is when they added to SolarWinds to see if that is actually do it. Okay, so where is, so we can edit. We used to be able to edit the nodes themselves, Mike, before. So that's the switch. Okay.
Yep.
We literally, so this is the node details, pulling IP address. Where is the edit button in here? Because we used to able to basically check it, mute the alarm, etc.
Yeah, you should be able to. You may not have rights to do that. That's
Okay.
why you're not seeing it. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you're under management. So you've got
Mhm.
management. That's where, see, at the moment you can go to performance analyzer, but usually you
Yeah.
would have edit, properties, edit, whatever.
We
So
use definitely we used to have them. I don't know what changed because
it's permissions on your account.
So something must have been lost when we transitioned to the new.
yeah.
Because
I
we've
mean,
gone from
my
G-Sales.
account, yeah, my account, I can edit
Um,
WLCs and things, but not of the
unless
switches.
this is MC account related.
Yeah, this doesn't look at your profile, does it? When you log in
Yeah.
here, this doesn't.
Yeah,
this
this
is
does.
separate.
Because I think
So-
what's happened, so it might never log in with your MC account.
Yeah,
Not MC,
correct.
admin ADM account.
IDM account, you reckon?
MC's cloud account, multi-cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I
I'll try to do it
click
now.
on
See what happens.
Yeah.
when I click on it, I can see all the details.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go. So
It's probably because
So-
I think that was the change that Arthur made, possibly. You know, where we're
Oh,
I told him do it
yes.
after Tuesday.
Trying to get
I told him
stuff.
do it
Yeah.
after Tuesday. Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
Do them after Tuesday.
we're basically forcing staff to use their ADM accounts rather than
Yeah.
their general accounts, just
So
from a
I
security perspective.
That's just a permissions thing. I can see
Yeah.
edit.
Yeah.
I can edit the resources,
Yep.
list them, do maintenance
Mm.
mode, and all that stuff, right? So that's just a permissions thing. With
So
those
I
maps,
guess the question for us, though, I guess with the maps, and you showed that one of Lockhart, is the question for us is: do we want to have the top level,
Yeah.
like just the
Up
icon
there.
for that site,
Yep.
As a little icon, and then click on that, and it goes to the network map,
Yes, you can.
rather than the moment, which just sort of drills down into
That's
Yeah,
common.
so-
individual devices.
that's
And-
we
and
do that.
I would
We do it
say-
all the time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very common. Yeah.
IPs.
So I'll just get a map of New South Wales as an example, and that sits on the bottom, so you can't really scale it up accordingly. Then I drag the nodes onto that map. The nodes can, or it's up to whether we do or not. They at the top level, they might be groups, right? So you might click on, Para or whatever, and there might be under that group.
Yeah.
When you click on it, it might show you, there's three devices in there, and then you can click on the individual device if you want to, or you can have it go straight to the individual device. It's kind of up to us what you want to do, right? So, and we do that all the time. That's very common. A lot of the utilities, water companies, electric companies, they all do that because they are very conscious of site locations, as are you guys, I guess. Site locations are quite important, so they want to see a map of, just say Queensland or something, so they can tell. I can see we've got issues up there because there's flooding. If it's a water company, right?
At this stage, I think most of us we really don't have the luxury of being sitting at your desk all day, looking at the map there. As I said before, I'm more looking at actually getting SolarWinds to do most of the alerting for us, like the work. So basically, that's why I wanted to integrate it with an SMS gateway. We could have some more visualization, and we do have an MIE, which is a message integration system, where we can actually start to pop up any alert as a task, and then I'm actually, when I come back, I'm just gonna look at that in depth, where we can actually, when there's a problem with an AP, we can look at the MIE to do some tasks, whether I'm not sure how much they can do when like a system, but we could look at some scripting to maybe reboot that port where that IP was in, find out, etc. So the idea is basically to do some of the primarily troubleshootings if we can automate any of those. So again, that's something we are looking at to utilize SolarWinds for, but again, not in its native form. Yeah. So we're going to basically, I'm looking at integrating that with MIE and with SMS gateway at this stage. But definitely a map and a visualization of the site components, that's definitely a plus actually.
Yeah, if we keep using Lockhart as an example, I know Ben, you talked about it before about having the the LAN controller and the APs in a group, and then you've got the servers in a group. If you can just, using Lockhart as an example, if you can just provide us with those groups, we'll do that. And your naming convention's pretty obvious. We can do that when we start onboarding the the next batch of ICMP Cisco APs, and we can just do the same thing. How many sites do you have as well? How many? Like, there's a few, quite a few there, right?
63 with both LHDs.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we can obviously do a few of those. Like, we can maybe do a more like one of the larger sites. And we can have Lockhart as an example of a smaller site. We can have another like larger site, and we can give you those and sort of use them as a template. But I guess, Ben, if you can, where would the Moxa go? Where would the where would this go? If you can give that to me, or if it's emailed, whoever's best to give us that information, and then Mike can build out that map as a template, and then we can go with a bigger site. And then I guess, Emad, can you do an export from the wireless LAN controllers? I'm just conscious that you're leaving next week. Can you easily do a like a spreadsheet, like a CSV export from the LAN controllers of all the IPs that we need to import, so that we can do that while you're away?
So when you say IP, remember most of those, as I said, all pretty much every single IP that we have, that's in my last tally early this morning, there was about 4,100 plus APs that between Meraki and Cisco's, and all of them actually set up to DHCP. So IP will not be a valid data if you're gonna do your polling based on that in 2 weeks time when the DHCP gets renewed or the IP rebooted, then that IP will not be doing.
Okay, so there's no point. Yeah, you're right. So there's no point importing them or onboarding them until that has been resolved.
Yeah,
that's going to be the same thing. There's nothing that we can do on the SolarWinds side of things. That's I guess an internal.
Well, my understanding is SolarWinds can actually look up by DNS names, and then I did with for example Kuma, where I actually are reserved all the IPs for 2 reasons. One is just for actually testing it with the SolarWinds when we reboot them, and also Kuma, we've got an issue with the DHCP, so it gets filled up very quickly. So I tried to reserve those IPs for the IPs. But we definitely need to look at a method that SolarWinds can either look up the MAC address, or can that save the MAC address in its list? So to look up the device by the MAC address? Or it has to be.
It's able to use MAC address.
Okay.
But it's usually, I think when you're adding a node, it's always, well, it's usually IP or DNS.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Don't know that. I'll have to have a look into it, but I'm not sure whether we're able to refresh it using that.
Yeah. I'll give an example where literally, I think you just sorry, wireless. Okay, go Kuma. Okay. So I think we should have some. Okay, here we go. That's 061. So it's already pulled it out, and I'm just gonna go to Kuma Hospital. That's 061. This IP looks like it has been rebooted or basically refreshed. So this one has the IP address of 18.49, okay?
Yep.
And we go to audience, okay, should see Kuma 061. We just see that. Here we go. It's actually in here. Bad, my bad. Sorry. So that's Kuma 061. You see how it duplicates both of them?
Yeah.
And it does not clear it out. So we literally have to delete that one. And we had a couple of other ones similar. That's 64 as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it's duplicated too.
Yeah. So we just need to look at maybe like SolarWinds, and I'm quite sure like that's because I reserved them now and it's pulling that subnet. So it's actually showing any duplications in there already.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think we're looking at SolarWinds, maybe have enough smart on it to say, you know what, I'm gonna recognize it as a MAC address, because IP address will change every 2 weeks or every time an IP reboots. But the MAC address is solid there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have a think about it if there's a way to run a script or something.
I mean,
It's
alternatively, we literally have to go there and probably I'll
Delete.
log in with my IDM account later and then delete this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have a look. We might be able to try and get it to script it, even if we script it, just delete the duplicate that's down. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have a think about what's the best way. Maybe we can do that.
Yeah.
So I was going to I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to talk about
Yep. Go ahead.
dashboarding a little bit, just so you get an idea of what is and isn't possible. So this is another. I'll finish talking about maps. This is another map, an example of a map. This is on the SolarWinds demo site, right? So it's not your site. This is another example of a map showing end to end, right? So an application server here showing, database server. This is a cluster, database cluster, right? That's showing, some of the databases. One of them is red, obviously. You got some disk in here that's amber. Got a bit of a link between them. So you can see this showing how a cluster is looking for them. That's another example of mapping. You will also see, similar to what I did with the GRS systems, you got application health overview here. Sorry, wrong one. Oh, here we go. Common services and server groups. This is something I do with almost every site, right? So obviously showing, Windows, Apache, Linux, whatever. And you can see they've got the various AD, SQL, Office 365 kind of common services, which you're already seeing. I will show you some of the modern dashboards. You saw me create that other page earlier and drag the map, or not drag the map, but add the map to the page. So these are modern dashboards. By the way, when we add these, we do usually put them into the menu there, right? So you can add and remove stuff from there. So these are samples, and I usually add them into clients' sites, some of the samples, so they can actually have a bit of a play around. So this is an example of a modern dashboard. It's a bit more graphical, a bit more colorful, a different way to consume stuff, right? It may not be for you, it may be for something that management are interested in. You can see we've got link utilization over here, remote connectivity, network availability, server backups if you're monitoring those. These perf stacks that you can
I like it.
create. You can add these guys in. There's these guys as well. So they're a bit more graphical than the standard ones, right? So interfaces by utilization here. We do servers. This is like a table. Nodes by status. So again, these can be almost anything. I had a client who was a global company, and they had about 80 sites or maybe more globally, and he wanted to look at the utilization of his links between sites. That was very important to him. So we created boxes of probably a quarter of this size with the link utilization on the sites, right? And we basically
I like that idea.
We filled up a whole page, right? There was, we end up with like 2 pages, all right, of just link utilization, right? So he could just look at that page and go green, oh, it's red. Oh, that's linked to Sol. Oh, the utilization's bloody 95%. What's going on? So he was able to click on that and then, action it, obviously. So for him, we went through a number of iterations of him trying to explain to me what it was he wanted. And then I finally got on a call one morning with him, and it was about the 3rd time we had a crack at it. And I was going for too complex. And then he was going, I really just want a box that shows me it's green or red. And I went, oh, hang on a sec. And I said, what about this? And I literally did it on the fly, and I put 2 links in, and he was like, oh, that's exactly what I wanted. I've been trying for 2 meetings already. I went, oh, sorry, that was just trying to work out
at a glance, straight up. Yeah.
So he reckons he's the old story I always tell everyone. He was so happy with it, and it was so simple in the end. And he goes, I come in the morning, or I log on at night, or whatever, remotely. He said, I pull it up. He goes, and while I'm drinking my coffee, I just look at it and go, page is green. Oh, there's 1 amber. Oh, that's okay. He goes, and then I finish drinking my coffee and go and buy myself a donut, because I don't have to jump straight in. So it's just really a matter of just figuring out what are these you actually want to see, right? And these are like that. If we have a look at some other samples, so there's a API powered dashboard. I don't know. 365 API stats don't do it for me, but maybe they do it for some. I don't know.
What do they tap into, Mike?
So they tap into Azure. So 365, that's pulling your Microsoft information, right?
Yeah. Is that a subscription or
no,
some sort of API? Is there?
It's an API. You just got to give us the right keys, and actually you can hook into the API.
Okay.
I don't find it very useful, but again, I'm not the client consuming it. Some people, they need to look at that, right? So, and they get all excited about, I can see those figures. It's a lot better than trying to log into the Microsoft console. So I'm like, if you say so. But it's a bit dry for me. But there's also some other examples, security and observability. I haven't really.
I like that that topology view where it actually showed you the interconnection. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Cisco Configuration Professional, and it actually showed you the detail of the ports and the interfaces, and that would be
that map earlier.
Yeah, the map earlier. Yeah,
the cluster one. So that's what I usually do with Orion. I do exactly that. So I've got Orion on one side, SQL on the other. I show all the interactive components, and then you start to pass that on to staff, whether they're level 1, level 2, level 3. But so people go, how do I know if the SQL cluster is okay? Well, you just go and have a look at this. Yeah, go to this. Here's the URL. Go to that page.
Very graphical.
Yeah, and then they can go. So the help desk guys love it as well as the other guys. So they come in here, they go, oh yeah, I can see there's some issues here. It's red, right? So they don't really have to know too much more about it. But you do the same with any app, right? So whether it's your alerting systems, your APs, you just think about, well, how could I visualize that? And they might be groups in an AP situation, right? So application end-to-ends, database, web, application server. Maybe you got a router and a switch and a firewall in between, right? All that stuff.
Yeah, it shows you that complete flow, and where it's
end-to-end. Yeah. So people say I can't connect to that application. You might open it up. If this was a firewall, this is a firewall in here and it was red, maybe there's nothing wrong with either side. It's the firewall's got some sort of issue, right? So you might look at it and go, oh, actually it's the apps are both green. All that infrastructure's green except for this, and it's red. Shit, I'll better get onto the firewall guys. So it just helps root cause analysis a little bit better, right?
Triage.
Yeah, bit of triage. So that stuff, the dashboards is another way to consume information. again, it's consuming stuff we've already got. So it's really just about that consumption. Executive summary is really very useful. Any stats you want to see in there, you can. NCM. This is the new dashboard for NCM now. That's right. So this is part of your deployment already. So you're seeing the normal page at the moment, but you can, if you want to, change it to default to this page, which gives you a different version of the same information you're already getting, right? So it shows, backups to file, jobs are completed, NCM nodes to up, down, or otherwise, right? So there's lots of information in there. You don't have to have it all. These are widgets. We can just drag and get rid of them, right? So, yeah. So, yes. Again, just shows you the difference, I guess, between that and actually looking at it the traditional, maybe they don't have the traditional way in here. No, I bet they're going to have the normal one. I just realized, yeah. But if you look at NCM on your guy, you've got the standard one. They're both available, by the way. It's already, installed as part of the install. It's already there. It's just a matter of how you want to consume it. You can still have both if you want. So modern dashboarding, normal dashboarding, again, different ways. We'll just have a quick look in here at some of their maps to see if they've got anything that's a bit, I think there's an Active Directory one, which is really good, actually. We should have a look at that. I do the Active Directory one for a few clients as well. So maybe that's not the exact one I was thinking of. Oh, yeah, maybe it is.
Mike, while we are at it, just there's an error message there that says we have used all of our, or 90% of our licenses. The SAM components, we just literally used 100% of it as well.
So I did have a look at it before. It was okay before. I don't know what's.
If you look at those two arrows there, yeah.
Yeah. So we can see this is a bit of an Active Directory high-level view. Again, you add that SQL cluster, you've got like an Active Directory view. I did one just recently for some Radius servers. The client had some Radius servers, some security stuff they wanted on the same sort of page. So we kind of put Radius servers on one side, kind of like this, but a bit more detailed. And then we had some firewall stuff in here. So we kind of spread it out. So it was like a security infrastructure page, if you like, right? So, and that was a higher level. They wanted to have it higher level so that management, I guess, and their people that weren't just doing security, so that engineers were able to actually look at that high level and, exactly like this, go, oh, okay, so there's an issue with the, XYZ with the Radius server, there's an issue with the firewall, there's an issue with the monitoring system, syslog, whatever it happens to be. So that's the other way to do it for your infrastructure. Break it up into bite-sized chunks for teams to consume, right? So that's another good way to view that. If we go back to that maps in here again. Okay, maps, can't see the for the woods. Okay, to a hybrid SharePoint. So these are all pretty self-explanatory. Again, it's just slightly different ways to do it. It is really quite relatively straightforward to actually do. Wouldn't say that's straightforward, but it is relatively straightforward to set up, right? You've just got to understand your network. Probably easier for yourselves if it's your network. You actually understand, as you mentioned that other map previously, and that's
we'd be keen to establish some of those for Azure because we've had a recent foray into Azure, and we don't really have much visibility or understanding what the infrastructure is doing. So, but that'll be something that probably want to include Arthur and the server guys in as well. So.
So existing.
In terms of this engagement, I probably don't think, unless we've got time to set up an Azure one.
No, this session is purely just to show you what's possible.
Yeah.
Yep. So just on what Imad was saying before about the licensing, because we skimmed over that. What were you saying, Imad, that you've got to?
Oh, we've got an error message to say, look at those two alarm bells. You have used 90% of your available licenses.
So click on that.
Yeah.
They'll show you here what's actually used.
Okay.
I did check it earlier.
Yeah.
I did check it earlier, and I actually removed some the stuff I'd added in there as a demo to some application monitoring. I actually removed it because I thought, well, it's just no point consuming 100% of your licensing. Because your licensing for SAM is different to, here we go. So that was about 260 before. I'm not sure why we might have added something. I didn't add anything extra, I don't think. Anyway, so that's right on the money there. We can see NCM is up there.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the plan with SAM was to just be using it for the GRS servers and services.
That's right. Yeah. I was quite conscious of the fact that I added the Orion servers in, but that was more as a demo. I mean, I would usually obviously keep them there if that
would make sense for able to be the case.
Yeah. Right, because you want to know what the monitoring system's doing. But if licensing is a restriction, then that's fine too. I mean, I think I was monitoring a couple of IIS servers, and I actually removed them because the licensing was a little bit high.
It'd be nice to know where they're being used, but happy to monitor SolarWinds and the Juris servers if that stretches to that. We just need to work out which services on the Juris.
Yeah, the Juris servers were already
manage. Yeah,
they were already in there from previously.
Does a service chew up a license?
Let's have a look at your licensing again.
So we've probably got there'd be the physical servers and the virtual servers. So there's sort of two per site. We've probably got, I don't know, 60, 70 virtual servers.
Might be component.
Probably.
I think it's component monitoring.
Component, which I think services is one of them, but we just need to work out which ones we want to manage or monitor.
Yeah,
I don't know if that'll probably be something from Uplinks, Imad, do you think?
Yeah.
Whether they've got any thoughts on that?
Look, we probably, as I said, look, we were look at details. I mean, get the interfaces, those tab interfaces, or the integration at least for the GKO. But I feel we are doubling it out because we are monitoring the MIE. The MIE is actually already monitoring the interface between the AKHOW and itself, plus other components. Plus, what we are doing, we are monitoring the MIE and the RLS or RTLS servers. That's from outside. Then the MIE is actually monitoring the RTLS as well. And it's only monitoring the interface. So if that interface is down,
it's monitoring interfaces, which is slightly different, and the monitoring external that we're looking to do with Uplinks on the Juris and MIE would be an agent-based monitoring. So it'd be slightly different to the, I guess, SNMP and WMI monitoring that we're doing with SolarWinds. I don't think there's too much overlap there from a protocol or from a protocol perspective.
No.
Certainly there's no point doing SNMP and WI monitoring from two different systems, but I think the way that you're looking to use Enable. Mike,
the Uplinks ones, Ben, pulls a lot more information.
Absolutely,
what it does,
and it's agent based, but I think we still need our own view of the world internally.
Absolutely.
So it's component based, so therefore it's each one of those items it's monitoring is chewing up a license, right? Right, so it's component based. They changed they did add another version of licensing for SAM, which is now server based. So
I think we looked at that. I think that was quite expensive.
Observability, yeah. So there's obviously a trade-off with node-based is the price. It's not a one size fits all.
We need to go back to our Duris and MIU vendor and say which services should we be monitoring
correct
on these servers, and they might say no services because we're not interested, because there are other apps going to do that, other monitoring and enable that cloud-based MSP app, if you're aware of that one. So the agent effectively does a 443 outbound to a cloud server or cloud platform and ships off all sorts of stats and software versions, etc.
Yeah,
but that also allows for remote control and all sorts of other things. But so I think we just need to come up with which services on our jurisdiction.
Is there a reason why it's showing that bigger server is down, the MIS? Because definitely it's up. See the gray one, bigger EKA? Yeah.
So I think that's showing that it can't get to the services.
Okay, it can't get to the service. Okay,
Smart. So but the server's up over here, right? Yeah. So you can see the green there.
Yeah. I mean, I could say obviously it's not red. It's not red. It's just grey. Yeah.
So the new one?
That's the new one, yes, Ben.
Yeah. So it's saying it can't get to those, whether that's permissions or they're not running it yet or whatever. So these are all very small. So these are like three components it's monitoring on the Yahoo. The other one's just one, right? And I think the other one was was 2. So they're very low. I mean, but just get rid of buy services and counters, and you'll be under the cap and running fine, really. So I don't think that's a problem. Right. The mapping and the dashboarding is not license constrained. But that's really for whatever you're monitoring, yeah. So then it's really a matter of again, it's all about that consumption, just deciding what maps you'd like to see, whether you'd like to see a bit more of this, whether you want to see some apps end to end, if possible, whether we have the geographical maps, of the state and the various areas, that's all very doable and, relatively straightforward. And then the dashboarding that you saw, earlier as well, do we want the normal one or, some of those executive dashboards or, with the KPI sort of stuff is very useful. And then it's really just a matter of saying, well, I want to see the following stats, on one of those dashboards. Yeah, right. So we know, and whether it's like you said, someone said earlier, bandwidth utilization, maybe that's a good example for you. Maybe you want to do that as well. No reason why you can't. So at a high level, that's what we need now. It's a matter of that's what we have. It's all available. It's all in there. It's all built in. So really, it's just a matter of I guess now just having a chat amongst yourself or involving us, and we'll help you to, once we know your criteria, I suppose, I'll start building some of them up and take it from there.
I think our pretty much look. We do want to have some customized views, particularly like priorities, the Jura servers, aka how we call. But definitely, we've got far more like pretty VM clusters, VMware clusters. We've got the SQL. Obviously, we're going to capture, and mainly it's our networking components as well. Edge routers, switches. These are the things where we definitely look at it, and then. I think, as I said, I'll just circle back to my point where we do want SolarWinds really to do most of the work. I mean, while it's at the moment it's pulling a lot of data, but we really wanna schedule some tasks in it or do a couple of alerting into it.
Sure.
So just basically do it.
Yeah, we've got the alerting session next Monday,
Okay.
And so it really depends on the size of the organization, the size of the IT team, who's consuming it. Some people prefer to have dashboards up on a wallboard. But of course, if something's urgent, you want an alert to hit an inbox or a shared inbox or a group or create a ticket in your ITSM platform so that it's urgent, needs to be actioned. Because if you look up at a wallboard, and then you look down and it goes red, who knows when the next time you're going to look up again. So there's obviously Mike talks about consumption. There's many ways to consume the data that's polling. So it's just a matter of what you guys want. And so from a dashboarding and network map perspective, network maps are great for you to have I guess a top-down look at what your environment is or how it's performing. The modern dashboards are really popular with, say, the executive teams. It's again what Mike said before. It's how you want it to look. So we can create a couple of site maps for you. We can create the geographical map, like we talked about with Ben before. And Ben, you were really keen on the modern dashboard or the layout. I'm the same. I love it. I think it's just a little bit more cleaner. So I just dropped into the chat the HCO demo site, which has got some modern dashboards on there as well. If you just want to have a chat, like Mike said, have a chat amongst yourselves. Tell us what even just high levels, some ideas of what you want. Mike's happy to run with it. We just don't want to start creating maps and dashboards for you and be going down the garden path and have it not be anywhere close to what you want. So if you can give us a start. That can be after we've run the alerting and reporting session as well, just before Imad leaves, because we're going to need some feedback as to what you guys want from your alerting, and seems like Imad, you've got a pretty good idea of what you're going to need. But yeah, while you're gone, we want to have, I guess, all the keys to be able to build that out for when you return.
Yeah, fair enough.
So
And I'm happy to for Ben and Scott, obviously, and I think I'm happy to go by their guidance.
Yep.
If you want to nominate someone else, or basically, I think it's a good way of us sitting down internally, jotting down our requirements, exactly what we need, then give it back to you. But Ben, you happy for those 5-6 weeks of consultation internally?
Yeah, I think we definitely need to keep it moving.
Yeah.
So
yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I'm off next week, back on the 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Not ideal, but so Scott, we probably need to have a chat with the broader team around what that looks like in terms of these dashboards.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think in terms of the
I do like those
map,
wallboards, but
Lockhart, I like
I
the
do
look
like
of
it.
Lockhart.
Yeah.
I like the look of Lockhart. I think we need our geographic map. I don't know if we need to change it from the way it is now, because that obviously allows us to click down. But it's also about management. So is it easier for us to just click into a network map for something that's read at where were we? Coral, where there was 3 different locations. Was it 3 different locations? I can't remember. To then just click into a network map that then is the summary of that, and we just manage the network maps. But we've got that ability to zoom in and out of that map as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But we're not necessarily putting all our devices on it. Again, it comes back to management.
And was Mike saying that we can actually overlay that with a third party, which, say, for instance, if we could look at power outages and power outage patterns? Was that the case, Mike?
So that one you have currently, that map, that is MapQuest.
Yeah, not that one.
Third party. No, okay.
No, not that one. There was another one that was sort of gave you real time information off of like an Australian map. You see basically all of Australia, if you like, if you zoomed out that far. But it also would give you overlay the unplanned and planned power outages.
Yeah, I have. It's not something I've been involved in, but I have. I do have a client that was discussing that with me actually. So they were saying they were going to subscribe to that, and whether we can just add that as a widget into SolarWinds, which we basically could because it was a web access thing. So, yeah, if that's not something I would supply, but again, yes, we can do it if it's just a web page, right? So we just basically add the widget, we add the web page with the right authentication, and away we go. Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that when we have those discussions with the team, that might be an option. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
It just so happens that a lot of our outage correlates to power outages, planned or unplanned, and just it's easy to say, okay, well, I can see straight away there's a planned outage.
Yeah.
Unplanned.
Yeah. I had that exact. The client was talking to me about that. He was saying he was quite excited about it. He said, he's looking into a subscription-based model where you pay so much monthly, and then they basically give you the link, and then away you go. Yeah. So he was saying the same thing. A lot of their outages are due to power fluctuations or brownouts or whatever it is. He said, we get a lot of them. So and some of the places they weren't hospitals or something else. Some of the branch stuff that he was working with was older equipment. He said, and the UPSs there were very not so good. So he said, they have a brownout and the UPS kicks in and it runs out in 15 minutes or something, so there's no time to even get shutdowns done properly.
Yeah, that's what happens with us as well.
Yeah.
Good.
Well,
To know.
it's good.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we've covered off on everything that we've needed.
Just one thing there. You probably see my screen. That's NCM. So I figured out why it was not taking the schedule when I enabled it before. So it was the schedule was set for the first of for whatever it was, the date, first of the second or first of the first of 23, and it was set to expire on the same date.
Oh.
So obviously, the schedule wasn't working, obviously. So so I just extended the schedule. Right. So that was something as simple as that. But there we go.
Mike, and look, as I said before, I apologise for coming in late. I had something else that was taking up my time. Was there any discussion about IP management through the SolarWinds portal? Was that discussed at all?
No, not in this one. IPAM.
Not today, but we have talked about IPAM.
I think you're already using it quite heavily before, because this is all, legacy sort of.
It's all in there, but we're not using it.
Yeah. Okay.
So the bit that's missing
It's
for
just
us
something
is allocating. Asset guys come to us with a security system. They want an IP address at Bateman's Bay, and we say, "Yep, here it is," and we actually update it because we're still using spreadsheets. Well, yeah.
There is a little inbuilt system to ask for IP addresses built into the SolarWinds, which is pretty simple. But basically, you go in and you say, "I want 5 IP addresses in this scope. Next, or I want a scope, whatever it is," and that actually sends an alert, and it pops up as like either a ticket or it goes to an email address, and then you get that as an administrator, and it goes, such and such has asked for X, Y, and Z, and then you can either say no, bugger off, or yes, thanks very much, here it is, and it just sends an email back to that person who applied for it. So it's built in, and it's
like a little workflow engine.
So we can start working with that then.
Would we cover that off in the training, Mike?
Yeah, happy to. It's really super simple, and you just basically just tick the box and it turns on, and then you can just give the URL to someone and they can. I've actually got a few clients that use it. Look, and it's good. They said, we don't have to have anything complex. We just want something simple, so we've got an audit trail. Right.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what's important for us is that we don't know what's being assigned, or somebody else has assigned it. It's gone into a different spreadsheet. There was something else. Something else I was going to ask too, Mike, and that was that has it already been discussed about iOS backups, switch stack backup, iOS backups?
So that was what I was just looking at just a moment ago. So they were not working.
Yeah.
Okay. And it turns out they were disabled. And then when I tried to enable them earlier today, they just went enabled and then disabled straight away. And turns out the scope was, the scheduling was set to expire the same day as it started.
Right? Oh, sorry, that's what you were just saying. Okay.
Yeah. So I turned that on just a little bit earlier this afternoon because I went in to have a look at it. It only took me a couple of minutes to figure it out, but I turned it back on, so they were backing up those same configs they were doing before as of tonight.
Okay, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I did a couple manually and tested them, and they worked fine. Yeah. So that should be no problems. I'll double check it over the weekend, probably just to have a jump in and make sure it is running. But it's again, I did check a couple manually and they worked fine. So it's to download the configs, inventory, and there's a weekly one as well. So yep, they're the standards that usually are by default, right? So these other ones are usually disabled by default. So that should be working. You'll have proper configs now.
Perfect. And Mike, did you guys already go through utilization reports through the SolarWinds portal? How we do that?
We've got a report session on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah,
so are you
Today was
invited
more
to that
about
one?
dashboards.
Yep. Yeah, dashboards, network maps, and next week, Mondays, alerts and reports. You're invited to that, Scott?
I'll have to have a look. Was that Monday, is it?
I think we said Monday, didn't we?
Monday.
Yep. Yeah, Monday, 3 o'clock.
But yeah, there are some default utilization reports that come out of the box is the answer to the question. Then it's just a matter of you having a look at those ones. We can generate them just on the fly. You having a look at those ones to see if they meet your needs, or if you need something more specific. Sometimes people need additional columns in it, or you want to look at some other stuff as well. So yeah, that's all.
Just something that where we could actually slide out, transmit and utilization, receive utilization, combined utilization, that kind of, so we can get a bit of an idea what's happening on our links.
Yeah, that's it's not an issue. So it's really more a matter similar to what we're just talking about. It's a matter of deciding exactly what do you want, so we can add the columns in if they're not already there, and then which links are we looking at? So we make sure we cover them all off, right? So that's you're not covering random ones that you're not interested in.
It's just specific interfaces. And can we monitor those interfaces at 5-minute intervals, or is that more of a global setting? I think we're out to 15 minutes at the moment.
You can change them for those specific ones. Yeah, so what you can do is you can do it individually or by a group.
Better at a 5-minute summary rather than a 15-minute summary, because 15-minute summry doesn't really necessarily give you that peak.
No. So what we normally do is we wouldn't do it globally, because it'd overwhelm your database, would grow huge and slow everything down. So we'd go in and we'd create a group or a couple of groups, and then we'd say, well, on those boxes, on those links, we want to change the default, and that's fine, because that'll have a minimal effect. Because how many are you talking about? I imagine you're talking about hundreds, are you?
I'm not talking about hundreds, but we're talking about.
So we're talking about looking at the uplink to the switch.
Yes.
Or we talking about the HWAN router, because we don't really have.
I'm talking about
managed by eHealth, isn't it?
Well, HWAN routers we can look in SolarWinds and eHealth, so we can look at those utilization reports. So these would be our uplink utilization reports. So our internal utilization. Yeah.
It shouldn't be a problem. Yeah.
And it's quite easy for us to tell, like, we've got a lagging network. Is it us or is it outside of us?
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah, it makes it much easier to do that. I understand exactly what you require. So and then you've already got these guys as well to make sure you double check your lag. Yep.
Especially with telephony now, Mike, because we know we're pushing a lot of our telephony through our LAN WAN.
And Teams.
And it's becoming critical. And Teams as well. Teams. Yeah, absolutely, mate. And also the uptake on VC, virtual is so lag has started to become
a problem.
Critical. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully hear you. That's usually the way it happens. Starts out small, everyone gets a piece of it, and then all of a sudden you get VM explosion and
overwhelms
storage.
Yeah, it just blows out sometimes. we were sort of very seriously looking at a Cisco product called Thousand Eyes, which would probably give us some information on issues. And look, it's very expensive, and we're sort of hoping that SolarWinds might be able to help us out with some of those analysis rather than going to that expense. Yeah,
I know the product. Yeah, I know the product. Thousand. It is a nice product actually, and it does a lot of stuff. But yeah, I've heard the same feedback from other clients saying, "Oh, it's super duper expensive."
Oh, it's expensive, mate. You know, it's a great product. I mean, if you could just have it and use it for a week, you know, you could work out all your issues, but it doesn't work like that with them. Unfortunately, it's a subscription with a minimum uptake. So we were sort of hoping that SolarWinds would be able to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll be able to do it it won't be as easy. You have to have a combination. You're going to have some reports. You may be going to have some, NetPath, which we're kind of looking at now. But between those, you should be able to get most of what you want. Like latency, this will show you latency between end to end of site to site or site to provider, vendor, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Is that accessing NetFlow?
No, but it goes across the network. It'll show you redundant links, gives you latency, packet loss, that sort of thing.
Okay.
All right. I think we've previously talked about getting access to, because eHealth monitor NetFlow, I think was what Gareth and Mike had said. So we really need visibility of NetFlow and our WAN links from eHealth. And I think that was a bit of a work in progress, wasn't it, Gareth?
Well, it is also, but I don't know how much information you get through from eHealth, but their SolarWinds platform is being. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Their SolarWinds platform is being consolidated, and they're starting to leverage Splunk for more. Mm-hmm. So while we have a managed services contract which expires in September, I'm going up and meeting with Mick Carthy and Dylan to have a conversation about what it looks like past that. So we really have no idea. We're actually assisting with the consolidation, which is a bit counterintuitive for us, or counterproductive, I should say. But I don't know. Honestly, don't know. That ticket that we had open with them, that's pretty much on hold until we know what SolarWinds is going to do now, 6 months from now, etc.
So there's clearly some crossover, but there's some individual things that, for example, Splunk wouldn't be doing in configuration.
No, but I think that the promise that has been made at an exec level is that SolarWinds will no longer be utilized at all, and so they've leveraged the budget for Splunk, but then they've realized that it doesn't do everything, funnily enough. So it's a bit political, and I'm certainly not going to get in the way of that. We'll have to feed that information back to you as we get it.
Okay.
But that request is on hold, unfortunately.
Right. Sadly.
Yeah.
We thought we had a new best friend, but unfortunately the new best friend's having the rug pulled out of under their feet.
Yeah, a little bit. And so we honestly didn't know whether or not our managed services contract would renew. We got told it would. So SolarWinds will be in there to some capacity. So we'll obviously push it for as much as we can, and we'll let you know as soon as I'm going up there, I think in 3 weeks. So we should definitely know more information. So I'll feed that back to you, and hopefully we can get some traction at some point soonish.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, cool. Well,
so send through those examples of the dashboards, and we can have a look at that.
Yep.
Mindful we probably won't get the list back to you probably for a couple of weeks, if that's all right.
Yeah, it's all good.
All good. No problems.
Okay.
Done and done. All right, thanks, gents.
Okay.
Ben, so you said you're off from Monday?
Correct.
Yeah, cool. Well, have a good couple of weeks off.
Thank you. Going to Barwon Heads.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well-earned break.
Yes.
Just by the by, Gareth, I don't have that invitation on Monday.
I'll flick it to you now.
Thanks, mate.
All right, I've got to drop off. I've got
Excellent.
Right.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Ben, Scott, do you want to catch up quickly?